This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is brought to you by RoboForm. Reusing passwords is the easiest way to have your data stolen, and letting browsers autosave your login information just isn't secure enough. Thankfully, there's a more secure and convenient solution. Use RoboForm to store and generate strong, unique passwords right in your browser or mobile device. All you need to remember is one RoboForm master password. It's that easy. So visit roboform.com and download today. Or check out the app in the App Store or for iOS or Android. And for a limited time, you can get $10 off your RoboForm Everywhere subscription when you use the promo code TEST, T-E-S-T. The other sponsor of this week's podcast is Squarespace. Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website. Showcase your work, blog or publish content, even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. You can customize everything from the look and feel to simple settings and products using beautiful templates created by world-class designers. And there's nothing to install ever. No patching, no coding. Thank goodness. Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code TEST, T-E-S-T, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, November 2nd, 2017, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome everyone to this week. We're in November now, which means it's holiday season. Can you hear the sleigh bells ringing?
I don't want to hear anything about a holiday season because it's just a few days away from my 40th.
Whoa. 40th what?
Revolution around the sun.
Burrito?
That's funny. I thought you were older.
Are you still
That
in your
makes me
30s,
feel
Kishore?
worse.
Not the way you look, just your presence, man.
Wow.
That makes me feel even worse.
You look young, but your presence exudes that of a 40-year-old.
You know, all I want to do for my birthday, my wife has been pestering me about, like we should do X, we should do Y. All I want to do
Z.
is watch Stranger Things.
We're not there yet. How are you guys doing? Kishore Hari and Jeremy Williams.
I can't speak for Kishore, but I'm doing fine.
You're doing fine.
Little sleepy after the Halloween festivities.
Wow. Oh, yes, that's right. Halloween. You know, this is the second podcast this week that Kishore and I are on because he was a guest this week on Still Untitled. And we talked about our pre-Halloween festivities, most notably the Tested live show. Hey, we did a live show.
Oh my gosh. It's been a busy week.
Yeah.
We didn't just survive that live show. We we got like a B+ on that live show.
You call you graded us a B+?
I wouldn't give us a full A. What grade would you give it?
I would give it a B+ as well.
Ha-ha.
I think there's always room for improvement. I think if we had done that show without any of the technical difficulties that we had, that some of it which was not even seen by any of the audience, it was just well managed, but we still had to overcome them. It would have been an A- show. I don't think we've ever done an A show.
It wasn't all human error either. There were like power issues.
Yeah, so
no,
you'll
absolutely
see it in the video, but basically we lost power to basically our backstage crew, and so it lost all of the feed up to the projector.
Just for a moment.
And somehow that was like Adam just kept going through his presentation while that happened.
The power outage to our AV, the people running the projector and the audio, went out during Adam's presentation.
Yeah.
And yet we managed to get by without most people even knowing, including Adam.
Well, he might know now.
Yes.
But outside of those technical difficulties, I agree. And if there was somebody I was going to give an A+ to, it's my friend Jeremy Williams and Sean Charlesworth.
closing out the show with
Yeah.
with some gaming.
Mm.
Pong.
Was that your name for it now?
It's the most recent name.
Yeah?
Yeah, Sean came up with it. We
Okay.
it's a robotic Pong machine that you play. The audience got to play.
Yeah.
Left versus right using the volume of their cheering. Would move the paddle up a LED strip. It was kind of fun.
It was really fun.
It was fun.
Sean on stage mentioned that this was an idea that came together at the last minute. How much last minute was it? I mean, we know behind the scenes you originally didn't come up with this idea as what you wanted to do for the live show.
Well, it was last minute in the bits to atoms sense. I mean, we worked on the thermal detonator for months. You know, that was a major endeavor. This one we came up with Shore started pitching this show in general maybe a 2 months ahead of time. We had a theme
Longer than that, but yeah.
Well, the theme was clear at that point, and we got together. We had lunch, but we really didn't start work on it until about a month before the show.
And while we don't want to give away what your original idea was, unless you do.
That's no big deal. There's another game called Ice Cold Beer. Yeah, where you're
gonna give the audience ice cold beers.
Much more expensive.
Yeah.
And then so you'd raise this ball up and move it left and right, but it just seemed Pong had more instant gratification, recognizability. It was a more interesting coding endeavor.
But the idea was already there from the start
Yeah.
in terms of having the audience
Interact
with
something
each other
mechanical
and using audio as the input.
Yeah.
Somehow.
People have done audience interaction in other ways, using phones or holding up colors or even waving their hands. I'm sure they've done sound too, but it just seemed like sound was the most immediate feedback.
It was the perfect Bits to Atoms project in the sense of there was clearly modeling involved, there was electronics, there was fabrication,
Yeah.
and that audience interaction embedded in a nostalgia. It just was iconically you guys. So
Yeah, I
loved every minute. The one thing that surprised me though, and we didn't even think about, at least I didn't come to me when we were practicing, is the sabotage factor that showed up.
Oh, I know it's part of the discussion.
We all saw that coming.
I believe in humanity
the
too
fact
much.
that there was crossover between the mics, so the left side, if they were loud enough, they could affect the right side. It's just a matter of honor system, and clearly some players don't have honor.
Right. I mean, the fun part is the games were actually competitive.
Yeah.
It actually required the audience it wasn't easy for the paddles to actually hit because the audience would feel like they had the ball in their sights and then they would dip down to the last second, and that momentary lapse would cause them to lose.
It was fun because it was a project made for the live show. It was something we could have made outside of it, but it made so much more sense in context.
So much of the projects were made for the live show. Simone's mega applause machine, which was behind the scenes, that came together also very close to the finish line. It was actually the second revision of how the hands were built. So you'll see that in an episode of It Might Work with Simone for tested members. And Alan Pan's, his Thor hammers, which we did talk about on Still Untitled. That whole large capacitor electroshock hammer didn't come together until 2 days before the show.
Not to mention the flying. What's the name of the hammer?
The quad
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir. Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, it never flew until that moment.
Yep.
That was awesome.
We tested it in the morning outside my house.
Yeah.
And it got away from us, but never came back. So we knew.
Okay.
We had to.
At the rehearsals, though.
Oh, it never flew.
It never made it. I was super happy that thing flew.
Yeah.
That was pretty spectacular. And now there's a new weathering device that the RPF might enjoy, which is basically a giant capacitance hammer.
Totally.
That's how you weather Captain America shields from now on.
Oh, yeah. Highly enjoyable. I'm so glad that so many people will see it. Thank you if you came to the show.
Yeah.
And especially thank you if you stayed afterward to say hi. It was great to see a lot of familiar faces.
A lot of people have come to all four of them. I really appreciate people that drove all night to come down. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And we'll get the show up on the site pretty soon.
Yes, Gunther's working on it right now. And also, I know we didn't get to thank them on stage, but all behind-the-scenes crew, Gunther, Joey was up here, Ryan from our team, everyone worked their butts off.
Ryan especially killed it. He worked really hard.
Yeah, to make it all come together seamlessly, at least for you guys out there. How did you guys celebrate your Halloween?
Ooh, well, I dressed up as a dark sorcerer. It's
Whoa,
a generic dark sorcerer. I had a costume I got from Amazon. It's one of those very easy to wear, doesn't look that bad, not too expensive costumes. perfect for me. Loved it. And then I got a wooden staff, and I 3D printed what I guess is Gandalf's staff on top of it. I wouldn't have recognized it, but I 3D printed that in a UV reactive yellow.
And this is from Thingiverse?
Yeah.
Like a staff head?
Uh-huh. And then I put a blacklight flashlight inside of it. So it glows, and when you move it, it kind of looks like it flickered.
Nice.
Yeah, I freaked out a lot of kids. And then because it was a flashlight with a button on the end of it, on the back, I could slam the staff down, and that would just compress the button, and it would turn it off and on. I got some wide-eyed
You got some pictures?
reactions.
You got to post some pictures.
Performances, right? Did you do a "You Shall Not Pass"?
We were crossing the road, and I pulled a "Thou Shalt Not Pass."
You could have stayed at that intersection the whole night, and you'd have just been entertaining kids and parents nonstop.
But I wasn't,
okay, you should pass.
I wasn't
You can
Gandalf.
pass.
It was just some dude.
You shall not pass. Okay, you can pass.
Where you went on one of those big Halloween streets?
It turns out I live in Glen Park, which is a crazy Halloween street. Like the road shuts down.
Did you get any of those full-size candy bars?
And we did.
Yeah, you
that's
did.
that's a thing now.
Wait. Which house had the full size?
I couldn't tell you.
My house didn't have a full size. We got one trick or treater.
What?
Yeah, and we had to ask them to come over. They were our neighbors.
You should have bought a Snickers bar for that kid.
No, we gave them tons of. We gave them like as much candy as you want. All the Reese's Pieces.
So you had
we
candy.
had candy.
Okay.
We had a big bowl, but we had no one to give it to because we don't live on a street that's one of those fancy, closed-off, high-traffic trick-or-treating streets.
I don't live on one of those streets. I think those streets are too crazy because there's so many kids. Like your kids have to like kind of push their way to the front sometimes.
There's no pushing.
There's a little bit of pushing.
Patience.
All right. I did well too. I went I got my DS9 outfit out. On Still Untitled, I was mentioning I was going as a captain, but I got a demotion last night to commander because I dropped one of my pips under the bed and I couldn't find it. So,
Wait, you dropped it at home? It wasn't even on the street? It wasn't.
no, I was putting it in and I dropped it and it like rolled underneath my bed and I can't find it. So I got a demotion.
Whoa,
All right.
I'm so sorry.
I
How did it fit? How did your uniform fit? This is the gray pads.
loved it. Oh, here I am in it.
Oh yeah, I saw
That's
that
pretty
picture.
good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I started doing later. So later I got out of the outfit and I just started wearing the jacket around over my t-shirt.
With the emblem?
No, I took off the communicator badge. I think I'm going to just wear this as a jacket around.
I can see that.
It was pretty comfortable. You know, the only thing I was missing is a nice pocket. But you know what? It's okay. My favorite part of the evening is I just constantly did this.
Yeah. So you were definitely embodying more of a DS9 feeling, like a space station feeling, because these uniforms first debuted in First Contact, and Picard has a variant, which I was very fond of growing up as a kid, which is the vest version of that. I like that vest.
The vest they had I've seen like really nice replicas of that vest version, but they're pretty expensive.
When does Picard wear that vest?
When the Borg attack.
Oh.
In First Contact.
Like he sheds to show the guns.
Oh yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, he's still wearing like the red tunic underneath, but it's for the gray outside. It's definitely cut off shoulders, and it's a lower neck, and it looks more like a tactical vest version of the Starfleet uniform.
Yeah, I mean, he has it on when he's like on the tube, surviving all the goo. That's like
those are his muscles. Those are his real muscles. Yes.
No, I went with more of a DS9 vibe. That's my home trek. The kiddo went as a super trooper, as Ryan would say.
Stormtrooper.
What did your kids go as?
Soldier 76 from Overwatch.
Deep cut.
It's Overwatch. Your kid does not play Overwatch.
Here's the deal, and he can play Overwatch, but he chooses not to.
Because
all he has to do in order to play Overwatch, he's 10 years old, is finish Portal 2. That is his challenge.
Not even the co-op.
All the other parents that hear this, they're like, what?
Yeah.
I wish I had
Wait,
That's the right reaction.
Before all the other parents hear this, and my guess is they're saying, you nerd of a family.
No, they're saying like my kid has to get straight A's, or like
stuff,
or like make an accomplishment.
Okay, wow.
But for me, it's like coming from video games. I don't want him to think that Overwatch is
end all be all.
Like that. That's all there is to video games. Like right now, they're so immersed in the mobile game pay-to-play phenomenon,
right,
that they think that advancing through a game means all you have to do is pay extra. That's how you level up, is you pay more money.
Force them
It's not about work. Now, Portal is one of those rare games now where you have to put some thought into it.
No loot crates.
Exactly. You have to put some hard work into it in order to advance.
You should force him to learn rocket jumping and also the speed run, Half-Life 2.
Why don't you just tell
Keep
them to
them
be?
coming. I will do these things.
Yeah.
Why don't you
Oh,
just
yes,
force them to
yes.
be Cuphead? Just be mean.
Yeah, you can't pay your way through Cuphead, and that's classic platforming. What are some video game classic PC game challenges that require mental finesse?
Yes.
And finger dexterity in order to beat soundly and fairly without having to pay through it.
I did get him into Star Control 2 a little bit on my little computer museum, which is one of my favorite games of all time. So he's kind of getting into that a little bit. Which
What about Monkey Island? I mean, then you got some mental gymnastics
For sure.
of like problem solving.
I don't see him
and
getting
being
hooked
clever.
on an adventure game. I don't see that. It's just
that's so
not
sad.
enough going on.
Wow.
Yeah, it is sad.
Okay. I stayed home and wrapped up Stranger Things season 2.
Wow.
So
What did you do? Watch
the
half the season last night?
I watched 3 episodes last night. I watched 3 episodes on Sunday, 3 episodes on Monday, 3 episodes on Tuesday.
So no spoilers. How satisfied are you?
I end strong. The first 3 episodes, I was not convinced. I felt like it was a lot of the same. You know what? This is perfect. This is something we should talk about in our next segment.
Oh, very good.
I believe it's the pop culture.
Go.
All right, Stranger Things Unleashed on Thursday night. You got some big, momentous pop culture things. First thing, for Stranger Things 2. This is a big problem with Netflix, with the binge watching and dropping it all. We can't have water cooler talk.
Well,
If it was 1 week at a time, we would be talking about, oh my God, episode 1.
I blame them for not scheduling around the Tested Live show. We announced first.
It's easier to watch 45 minutes, 50 minutes of television than it is to watch the full 9 episodes.
I just think the water cooler talk is a more active experience now, because now the person who's watched more just has to limit their talk to meet everyone else's needs.
Or limit their watching. You can't even have an online shared experience. I don't even know what the think piece, which think pieces are caught up to which episode.
Oh.
So, okay, let's talk about.
We've watched episode 1.
Episode 1.
I'm
what
one
did
in.
you guys think about episode 1? How it starts off? Does it start off strong for you?
Definitely. I love that show.
I thought it was great. It was a great reintroduction. It was not. It didn't like just dive you in, but it had enough mystery in it. Mm-hmm. Much more 80s music than I remember from the original season.
Me too. Maybe that's a budget thing.
And so I dug that. So there was a lot more like 80s nostalgia that came back pretty quickly up front. So I totally enjoyed it. It definitely put enough in there that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready for episode 2, but it's like 2:30 in the morning.
I really liked the arcade stuff. I liked that I don't know if that comes up again as a focal point, as a scene.
We can't talk about it. Because we're not talking spoilers.
But I liked it. Then one of my friends who is an operator, I guess a fellow operator of arcade games, he got on Twitter and had a 10 tweet long thread about all the errors in that scene.
Whoa.
There are errors in the arcade?
Yeah. Apparently the high score screen for Dick Dug is inaccurate.
Wow.
Yeah, little things like that. Some of the screens had LCD panels.
Well, that I'm forgiving of.
I think there's an argument that could be made that the show is very overly heavy-handed on the 80s.
I hate that criticism.
You don't
I think that's people getting swept up in it.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that they're hitting you over the head with it. That's just where it is.
So it's different for, like, we're relatively the same generation. Kishore, we're both in our 30s for the next 4 days. But this show, what does it mean to people who are maybe in their very early 20s or even late teens, right? If someone's 17, 18 years old, they're actually closer in age to the kids on the 13-year-old kids on the show than they are to people who actually lived through the 80s.
The 80s are in right now, though.
What would it be like? Like, is this the equivalent of me watching the 70s show in the 90s?
Or American Graffiti when I was growing up? You know, it's like, I wouldn't tell George Lucas that film is just so 50s.
Or Mad Men, like that, too much 50s, too much 60s. I think Sean said watching the movie It felt more like living through the 80s than Stranger Things feels like, because and Stranger Things is more hours of content, but it's just so much of it is hammered in the hair. I mean, they get
the Thunderbird Camaro kind of like rock song coming off of it. Yeah, they definitely beat you over the head in the first one, more so than season 1 for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's a question for me is like, are they going to turn it down from like 9 where it's at to like a 7?
Yeah.
But I still don't really feel like it was a distraction from the story.
I feel like people are so inundated with ironic shows like That 70s Show, which is making fun of it in a way that they can just get away with it. They can do anything.
Right.
That when they see something that tries to take the 80s and actually make it a set piece, they don't know how to like deal with it other than say, "Oh, that's so 80s."
Now, the other thing that's interesting is, of course, has the kid actors, but also stars some actors who are very close to the 80s and were big in the 80s.
You mean like Paul Reiser?
Well, Winona Ryder, Paul Reiser, and Sean Astin. Huge surprise.
I wish
Sean
I hadn't.
Astin.
You didn't hear about his casting?
I didn't until I saw it in the opening credits.
Me too.
Yeah, and I was very delighted. I will non-spoiler say Sean Astin becomes my favorite character.
Did you recognize him right away when he got on screen? It took me a minute.
Really?
I was like, oh my God.
He was on an episode of like The Librarians.
Okay.
And where he played a magician that was in love with Felicia Day, and he played basically the same character from that as what he did in Stranger Things. So it's very, very similar performance-wise. The one other thing I want to say, if you like Stranger Things Season 1, this is not like a monster of the season type show, right? It's not like Season 1 they dealt with the Demogorgon. Season 2 it's like some other like it's not like a Buffy style show. It feels like a direct continuation. Like it's aftermath of what happened in Season 1 is the premise.
How important is it to rewatch Season 1 before Season 2?
I actually feel after watching Season 2 and not doing that, I wish I had rewatched Season 1.
They do include a recap at the beginning that's like 5 minutes
not
longer
good
or
enough.
something.
There are things like did Will's dad act? Oh shoot, Will's dad was a character in the show. It's a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So like I think there are definitely plot elements that it's good to at least maybe read the Wikipedia for Season 1 or some type of recap.
They do a recap at the top.
It's not enough for
I'm just saying,
a lot of the
little reminder,
little things. One final thing also is this show is strangely enough has a post show.
First post show on Netflix that I recall.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
So like shows like The Walking Dead or Star Trek Discovery, week to week shows. They get more mileage out of these shows by after it airs. Immediately after they have the on TV water cooler.
Yeah.
Right. They have a host that's a fan of the show, and they invite some of the cast or some of the writers, and they discuss what happened with what you just watched the audience watch. So the audience gets a share in the water cooler moment and get some behind the scenes. It's like a DVD extra episode by episode.
I was going to try to watch it because I thought it would be episode 1 would be the after show for episode 1 of the show, and I turned it on, and it's Jim Rash, who is on Community and a bunch of other things. He's like, "What a season!" I was like, "Stop!" Immediately hit stop. Have you watched any of the after shows?
There are 7 after shows, so I don't know exactly which one they correspond to. It looks like they filmed them all on the same day, also. Because everyone's wearing the same clothes, like the Duffer Brothers are all wearing the same clothes. But I watched the one after the finale. It didn't make sense to me in terms of binging Stranger Things to watch an episode of Stranger Things, then watch an after show, then watch an episode of Stranger Things. If I'm going to binge it, I'm just going to binge it all the way through. Let Netflix autoplay.
So, yeah, what is the autoplay next up? Is it always the next episode?
It's always the next episode.
It's not the water cooler
It's not
talk.
the water. So you actually have to find the water cooler talk.
Yeah.
All it is a recommendation after. So it's weird to go back because you finish the whole series and they're like, okay, now I'm going to do the water cooler, and I know more than the host because they're talking about episode 4 and 5, but I've seen it all.
I'm going to say something controversial. I don't think Stranger Things is a good show to binge. I think you need the break after the show because it's a tense show. No?
I'm with you. I'm taking a break.
It's bingeable.
I probably would.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm enjoying spacing it out. A pleasure delay.
Yeah,
experience.
I think it's terrifying as a show, and I need that little come down.
Stranger Things is not the only thing to hit last Friday. In fact, maybe not even the biggest thing.
Whoa, we're talking about SMO?
Back to video games.
SMO?
So I didn't buy it, but I understand at least one of us did.
I bought it Thursday night at 9 p.m. and unlocked that.
9 p.m.?
Yeah,
wow,
East
so
Coast time.
Midnight East. Wow.
It was before planning for a live show. I'm like, I'm so stressed. I'm going to be I'm going to be playing some Super Mario Odyssey.
Digital
Yeah,
download.
I did download 5.4 gigs, crammed in on the Switch. No taxes apparently if you pay and play download in the U.S. So save $6 there.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Freaking loving it.
I bet. Yeah, I'm glad.
It is delightful. It is a platformer, and it makes me remember how terrible I am at platformers.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm not very good at Mario.
Yeah.
The camera's a little funky.
How much does it embrace the Switch interface? Like what the Switch can do and only the Switch can do?
So I'm playing with a Pro controller,
Mm-hmm.
which is plays more like a traditional game. I'm playing on the TV. Now, the thing I'm curious about is on the TV, items and icons and characters are a certain size. Now, everything is scaled down for the Switch's screen, the 7-inch screen, but did they design it to be played portable in mine, or did they design it to be blown up on a 50-inch TV, right? And it feels like it plays great on the 50-inch TV. I'm not using any of the waggle things. Even the Pro controller, you can waggle and you can do like a bigger jump, or you can do like a bigger hat toss or something. I'm just playing it straight like a 2-stick.
So you're never waggling.
I'm never waggling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's actually great to hear. Just for thinking ahead to when we want to emulate this game, because we're just gonna have standard gamepads like forever.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can play it like that is refreshing.
But you can't do two-player if you're gonna emulate it, and this game does have 2-player. Someone can play Cappy the Hat.
How does that work? They hold one of the Switch controllers?
Yes, I think they hold. You can like turn the Switch controller sideways, and because you throw the hat, someone can control the hat.
Do they like motion sense it, or
I haven't done it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you gotta do it.
But I know I see the 2-player option there.
That's interesting.
It's whimsical. It's a game I like because there is no difficulty setting.
That's true for all Mario games.
They made the game and they said this is going to be universally appealing to kids and adults. And adults maybe can get if you work hard, you'll reach the highest level and get all the stars and get all the coins. But if you just want to play and have fun, you could be a 6-year-old and you could play this.
It makes you wonder if difficulty settings is a symptom of lazy game design.
Right. And I'm sure it's not like we can't say that universally. There are some definitely difficulty settings that are well thought out, single life and all that stuff. But I guess they do have an assist mode, so they have an even simpler setting for the youngins. Or for for the lazy.
What's that do?
It gives you more forgiveness if you fall off cliffs and stuff like that.
Huh?
Yeah. You don't have to start back.
There have been Mario games where if you fail enough times, at the beginning of the level, it will give you invulnerability.
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
So
I think that's
always
fair.
helped out.
That's totally fair.
Plus,
I've definitely fallen plenty of times.
Mario is not, at least the American versions, has not typically been a terribly hard game. It's just been incredibly fun. They tend to help you out. They just want to help you. Accomplish the goals and have the fun.
Does it feel like a Mario game?
It totally feels like a Mario game.
Oh, okay.
Like structurally and going into the worlds,
I think that was the only thing that I was wondering about. But is it also 10 out of 10 good?
I can't say as of right now, being in like 4 worlds in, it's not 10 out of 10.
Oh.
It's like a 9 out of 10 right now. Maybe
that's still better than live show.
It's a B+ right now, but I'm sure. I mean, I'm waiting for the magic moment. It's not Zelda. Zelda, I guess, took also a little while to get to the magic.
That's the interesting thing is like this new Mario game is scoring 10 out of 10s, but I watched an interview with our friend Ryan McCaffrey at IGN who scored it for them and gave it a 10. But even he said it's probably not even in the top 5 of Mario games on his measure, despite it being a 10. Whereas Zelda not only was winning like Best Zelda Game Ever awards, but maybe even Best Game Ever awards. So I'm glad that you're giving this context.
Well, I mean, I don't know how far I am in, but not very far in. So it's hopefully a game that I'm going to be able to spend a lot more time with. But like in terms of how much, I'm shocked that this is all on a mobile processor. Like we're way past the point where people say phone processors, SoCs on your tablets aren't good. Can't compare to game consoles or PCs. Well, guess what? This is a current gen console running a last gen SoC playing one of the best games ever made.
But it comes down to interface. Like phones just don't ship with game interfaces.
Right.
Did it?
That wasn't the only exciting thing that's coming out in pop culture this week.
What? There's more?
Yeah, you didn't get enough Mjolnir in the Tested Live show. Guess what? Friday is Thor is opening.
You don't have your Thor tickets?
I do not.
I don't have Thor tickets either.
I don't have Thor tickets, but I'm going Infinity Stone hunting.
Thor to
Give me that Soul Stone. Give me that Soul Stone.
That's exciting.
I'm also excited because it's Taika Waititi. It's probably going to be funny. If you haven't seen the vampire farce that he did, what was it? Oh, God, I can't remember what it's called.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes, it was so good. So I'm expecting this to actually be a little bit more funny than we've gotten in a Marvel movie before.
Are you going to rewatch the Thor movies?
No. Especially that Dark World one.
I've never seen either one.
Good.
Yeah,
but the first Thor has its moments.
Has a good villain.
Kenneth Branagh, so it's sort of. I think it's down the middle. I am really excited about this. I hope we don't lose any characters. That's my only worry. I think somebody's going to die.
Well, I can't wait. Speaking of upcoming films, you guys have bought your Star Wars tickets?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
In fact, I think I bought some.
You bought mine. I gotta pay you.
I accidentally bought some during a period I'm busy.
Yes. We are not going to talk about specifics, but if you are spoiler averse, especially with regards to Star Wars, which I think most of us are, I haven't even watched that last trailer. There is apparently a new spoiler circulating the internet, and it's revealing. I'm not going to say what's regarding, but
you know this spoiler.
I don't know the spoiler. I know of it.
Yeah.
I'm aware that word has gotten around that something is that someone leaked something.
What happened? Did a director spill something?
No, an actor. And I'm worried about even talking about this.
Yeah.
An actor said
just
something.
Say be careful out there if you are browsing the internet and avert your eyes on headlines that may give away spoilers for Star Wars.
So this isn't a spoiler, but it was a comment that I've heard come up a couple times that Mark Hamill was not happy with the final cut of the film.
With the final cut or the treatment going into it? Because I'd heard, he had said publicly he wasn't happy with the script, the way that they treated Luke.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But then once they got going, he kind of got on board with it.
Ah, okay. That worries me a little bit because Mark's been part of some great stuff beyond Star Wars.
Absolutely.
So that scares me a little bit.
Now, I don't know how much more pop culture we want to go, but I want to go on one casting news. This is big for the DC universe. I want to get some hot takes. The casting of Captain Marvel, Shazam. Now, we knew there was going to be a Shazam Black Adam movie coming out. And Black Adam has always been The Rock. There's no way Black Adam was not going to be The Rock. The Rock is perfect.
Perfect casting.
As an anti-hero, god of... their match characters basically have the powers of Superman. Black Adam is a villain, but The Rock would play him perfectly as a smiling villain, pointy ears. But for Shazam, which is in the comics a kid who... Billy Batson, who meets the wizard Shazam. And when he says the wizard's name, he is bestowed the powers of the wisdom of the strength of Hercules, or actually I'm getting this all wrong, but basically he has Superman powers, but he looks like a Superman type heroic figure.
But he's a little immature.
Yes.
Because he's a 13-year-old kid.
Basically, the psyche of a 13-year-old kid, the body of a superhero, very smiling. They have cast Shazam. A lot of people wanted John Cena because he has the physique and he has the smiles. He's very likable.
That'd be great.
And he would play, it's think of it as the movie Big. Tom Hanks Big, but superhero.
I don't know if he can actually act.
Right? You wouldn't, if it was the movie Big, you wouldn't need Shazam, the character, to act. You just need him to be smiling and to perform the heroic acts.
Directors have said he's that good. You don't know he's acting. But he is.
He speaks Chinese.
Okay.
He's just talented in general. But they have cast him, and it is Zachary Levi.
Who's
Chuck.
that? Who?
You know the TV show Chuck?
No.
The nerd that became a superhero?
He's not like a hulking brute. He's a tall guy.
Okay.
And he's definitely very likable. Big smile. I think I would like Cena a little bit better because Cena's giant.
He's going to need to bulk up, for sure.
He has to bulk up. Yeah.
Yes. Did you know Zachary Levi was in Thor? He was one of the Warriors 3. He was Fandral.
Yeah,
and he played Stuart Townsend.
Exactly, yeah.
So he's already been in a superhero film, but he has the smile. I think he would pull it off.
No, he's
I'm
very
excited.
Likable personality.
It feels like an inspired casting. Like someone you wouldn't think about, but it could pull off and could do very well.
Back to Star Wars for a moment. Ars Technica has an interview up, a video interview up this week with Gary Whitta, old friend of the show. Know that a lot of the viewers of this podcast like Gary and miss him on the show. Well, this is an opportunity for you to watch about a 1-hour interview with Anna
Lee Newitz.
Anna Lee Newitz, yes.
Yes.
From Ars Live.
Yes.
Yeah. And they talk a lot about Star Wars. Of course, Gary was a writer, one of the first writers on Rogue One, and it's an interesting interview.
Yeah. I think that does it for pop culture. Let's get into some tech because it's an interesting tech week. All right, so a bunch of big technology news coming out, but let's talk phones.
Wow.
Let's talk about the biggest phone news out this week.
Pixel
and that's
2.
gotta be the Razer phone. Seriously, have you guys heard about the Razer phone?
No.
No.
Oh, we're actually talking about the Razer phone.
Yeah, why not, right?
Wasn't that the phone from the late 90s?
Yeah, it was the Motorola.
Yeah, the Motorola
flip.
Razer.
Yeah.
Flip
No, this
phone.
is Razer R-A-Z-E-R, the makers of laptops, gaming peripherals, keyboard, mice.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this podcast is going to go up, yes, after the embargo is lifted. But I got to see it. I got to see it last week.
It's a 2-camera phone. It's like is it high end?
It's an Android phone. It's a running your Snapdragon 835. This one has it's Dolby Atmos audio and
It's little speakers?
speakers on the side.
Dolby Atmos.
It's like THX certification kind of thing. Right?
That's-
It's certified big booming audio for a
Wow.
mobile phone, and 5.7-inch screen. 4,000 milliamp battery, 64 gig storage, whatever, all that jazz.
edge
right?
to edge.
Not edge to edge, because it has the big speakers on what you would call the
Okay.
top and the bottom. A couple of interesting things about this phone. 8 gigs of RAM, which is
That's
it's
pretty beefy.
It's a very most Android phones 4 gigs, so a lot of RAM. Most of the time, this is like a point of contention between phone makers, right? Like on the Android side, people always want more RAM because you run a lot of apps in the background. Everything's overall smoother experience, but on the Apple side, people are like, why do Apple phones only have like 3 gigs of RAM? They have 2 gigs for the longest time. We didn't have 4 gigs of RAM, even on like tablets. It's because they want to minimize power consumption. The more RAM you have, the more power you passively consume to keep that memory active. 8 gigs of RAM, who knows what battery life will be. The big feature, though, on this phone that might make it compelling when otherwise you might be looking at an essential phone for cheap or Pixel 2, the screen, it's a 120 hertz screen.
Oh, interesting.
That's LCD. That's the only way you can get it right now. 120 hertz LCD. And I'm hopefully going to get an early sample of this phone to show what that looks like. But when using it, just scrolling on Chrome and scrolling in Twitter, and even just the home screen, it's day and night.
It's like you're really touching something that's
Wow.
moving. I've used the 120 hertz iPad, and
iPad Pro, right?
I felt like this was something you can't go back from.
I even 5 minutes of just scrolling on that phone in my demo time, I felt like I want this on all my phones.
So even
my
though
screens.
LCD gives you worse colors,
Not as bright. Not as you can't get deepest of contrast. Can't get deep blacks. You can get 120 hertz.
no. So like, where would you rank those? I mean, I know those are two very different things. Like, did you feel like the 120 hertz outweighs some of the colors on the phone?
I think total. I think 120 hertz, as long as the color reproduction on the LCD, which is something that hasn't been tested yet on this phone, is close to your, let's say, not even Adobe RGB, right? But it's sRGB. If that's good enough,
Yeah.
120 hertz is something you're going to notice.
They do claim wide color gamut.
That's I mean, what does that mean, right?
Well,
That's a bullet point that you just leave in there on all of your press releases.
Yeah.
Every word is capitalized. This is a proper noun.
But having the high refresh rate is something that you're going to notice in literally everything you do.
Yeah.
Now,
Anything active, yeah.
right. So what if you're not actually actively scrolling, or nothing's actively moving on screen? It actually scales frame rate. And the iPad does this too. So iPad, there are no developer tools to let you see what the frame rate is in real time, but you can actually run like a version of Fraps on an Android phone. And on the home screen, the demo I saw, when it's not scrolling, you actually get, it runs at only like 15 FPS. And then when you actually scroll, it ramps up and it gets up to that 120.
You would never know that.
You would never know because
cool.
it also has a version of, I guess, like their version of G-Sync, so you don't get the clip frames and the tearing.
Oh God,
frames.
I would hope you don't have tearing.
Yeah. Which is it's the same thing as that's why like the 144 hertz monitors, look so smooth because it scales to that.
This would be really interesting to get in then.
Yeah.
To test out. So because this is like the overall market in Android for a long time was for years and years and years, it was like there was a million different phones, and then it seemed to collapse down a lot. Especially when Google like made much more an emphasis on their phones, and now we're starting to broaden back out again.
Yep.
With the OnePlus, the Essential now. Does this mean we're going to see more competition in the marketplace?
No, see, I don't necessarily think that other people are going to jump on this. Now, I could be completely wrong, and it could be in Samsung's roadmap, like Samsung OLED. So they're not going to push that to past 60 hertz, but. There's a cost to it. The cost is going to be battery life, and to run a phone at 120 hertz is going to kill your battery life. And I think that's probably the reason we're not seeing it on a lot of other phones, because they want to choose OLED or they want to choose instead of LCD, and the 60 hertz is good enough for a lot of stuff. But we're also going to want 120 hertz phones on screens for VR. So I do want to see the scaling up of manufacturing on higher refresh rate phones and of graphics chipsets that can do scaling.
Generally, it's better for games overall on the mobile, not just VR.
There is a mode in the settings of this phone where you can switch it to 60 or 90, and they say 90 is their sweet spot for performance and battery life. But I would want to run it at 120 all the time to see how fast that battery drains if I'm web browsing. But it is smooth.
I hope we get one, man.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see.
Yeah. Okay. The other big phone thing, of course, out this Friday, it's the iPhone 10.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Are you not in line right now? What's going on?
I don't need to be in line.
You have an appointment?
I have an appointment.
I had mine shipped.
You both collapsed and got it?
Totally collapsed.
You knew that was going to happen.
I didn't know that. I was.
Oh, your poor headphones, Jeremy.
I know. It's. I'm not happy with myself. Whatever. We'll see. I mean, you know what I'm most interested in is the screen. Like a lot of people are talking about, is this an amazing phone or not? And we'll see. But I just want to see this OLED screen, and I'm happy that it's going to be a big screen and basically the small form factor.
You can go get a Samsung phone and see what an OLED screen looks like.
No, but that's the thing. Like I would totally jump ship if my whole family wasn't locked into Apple. You know, that the fact that everyone's on what is it, Messages, and Find My Friends and.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what? It's this whole lock-in thing.
And we haven't seen real reviews yet because there's this weird embargo.
They actually, right. So that was really strange. The pre-order that's coming out before the reviews is not new. For the iPhone, all the previous iPhones, they've always had pre-orders like a couple of days, like a week before it actually releases, because that's when they can do they can announce it, and then they do FCC clearance, and then you do pre-orders, and a week later you get it. Pre-orders went up, I believe, last Thursday night. It was a week before it was supposed to ship. Everyone was crazy online. They said the easiest way would be to do it on the app.
Yep.
The app was delayed after the website, so actually people on the website got it better. And there's so many different ways you can buy a phone these days.
I didn't notice that.
Did you do it on the app or did you do it on the website?
On the app.
I did on the website.
Interesting.
Yeah. And people had like force closure app, which Apple says you don't ever need the force closure app. You can't swipe to refresh. And people have up installment plans. You have to certify with your carrier because you have to lock it into a carrier.
Whatever.
So it's confusing for everyone.
Yeah.
It was clear that if you didn't get it in the first 6-7 minutes,
less than that,
then you were going to be in the 2-week window, and very soon after that, the 5 to 6 week window. And I think that's where it stands right now. In the 5 to 6 week window, still in time for the holidays, in time for Christmas. But I could see that being pushed out. It was better than a lot of what analysts anticipated. Definitely more than that 45,000 shipped number. But a lot of people were saying maybe they won't even be in ready supply until March or April. So it was good news in that regard, but still supply issues for sure. Then the reviews come out. And the first reviews that came out earlier this week were not from any of the websites you normally associate with the reviews. It wasn't from your Ars Technica, wasn't from your Verge, or even some of the Apple insiders, not just appleinsider.com, but like the people who have good relationships, great relationships with Apple, your John Grubers, and your Walt Mossbergs. What they did was they gave it to one traditional reviewer, I'll say.
One of the original iPhone reviewers.
Stephen Levy.
Yep.
Who runs Back Channel, is now part of Wired. Well respected, just well regarded. He's like, with Walt stepping down, Stephen Levy is the guy to read.
No, he's a good reviewer.
He's great.
He's good. But the thing is, it seems like they told him you can't review it.
No, I think he chose not to, because he had it for a week. He had it for
Did he?
He did.
I think he had it for a day.
No. He had it for the week.
Really?
Yeah. He had it for the week. He was one of the very few people that had it for actually the week.
Okay.
And his embargo went up the same time as like half a dozen YouTubers.
Yeah, but not even like big YouTubers.
No. Like YouTubers that weren't traditionally tech YouTubers. They were more like a Glamour magazine had it, and Minnie Kaling did a quick review for them.
Odd.
Most of the reviews were, if you watch them, they were not what you think of as traditional iPhone reviews.
Like
they were a lot of unboxing,
no.
a lot of very generic. These are the 10 features you like, and they just had the phone.
It was
on it.
Practically the same thing as what we saw after the announcement event, where a lot of journalists went and tried it.
The hands-on
in the showroom.
Right. It felt very much like hands-ons. No scrutiny required for these, and none was present really for these reviews. Then a day later, it turned out that the outlets that do traditionally review the phones got units one day before for 24 hours. And so your Verge, BuzzFeed, Mashable. I think Mashable actually had it for a week, and so did TechCrunch had it for a week. But most of the main sites had it for 24 hours and couldn't really publish reviews. There were reviews in progress, impressions. Of course, they showed off some photos. They talked about Face ID, but it wasn't any long-term use at all.
No, literally, the Verge one was unboxing and being like, here's how we set up Face ID, and that's like all they could do.
Here are some photos. Here are a handful of photos.
Like, I can't tell.
There's nothing about living with the phone. So the question is, was it a good move on Apple's part, PR-wise? And if so, what was the thinking behind it?
I mean, I don't think it really affects sales. I mean, if you're already you were in, and you had pre-ordered by the time this came out, I think it's bizarre because they might have stemmed some negative press about it, but at the end, everything I'm hearing now is that people think the phone, I mean, it has a couple faults, but is generally pretty good. So why would you do that to yourself? You're like hurting your own phone's positive press.
Right. And the positive press, the people they're trying to convince are the people that are on the fence about putting a pre-order down for 5 to 6 weeks. The people what they want to do is convince people to wait in line Thursday night because they want that good buzz Thursday night. They want to see what didn't happen with the iPhone 8s, which is Friday morning, news reporter, vans parked outside all the Apple stores showing how long the lines are. And I think they're going to get that this time because there's a lot of appetite for this. Not only information, the reviews that, The Verge puts out and our Second Hand Wired puts out, these are mostly for people who are already sold on the phone. Like, they're for reinforcement.
They released a press release today, too, where they actually did pull quotes from all of these reviewers.
God, that's terrible. Why wouldn't I don't like that at all?
No, it's very unsophisticated. I mean, it just seems like someone graduated from marketing school and just got a job at Apple.
Pull quotes from, but they're meticulous about it. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be clear. I don't think it's an amateur move. I think it's a sinister move.
Sinister?
Yeah, when you pull quotes to put in ads for people who and blast them out as reviews, it's just like you see in video games all the time, like clipping out or movie reviews all the time, clipping out the context of these reviews and seeing like quote mind blowing. Well, who wrote it? From generic Twitter user with 5 followers, right? It's like the equivalent of that for the tech review.
Yeah.
The mainstream audience watching these quotes in a press release or in a commercial, right? However it's used, has no idea how long this person has tested the phone or what the situation was.
I don't know. I feel like we're past the point where new phones are substantially better, and Apple must know that, and they're trying to come to terms with it, and they're just maybe fumbling a little bit for trying to figure out this transition. But we've got to get to whatever's next. I don't know if that's AR glasses or some other device or something brand new that the phone can do that we never thought of. But this is a difficult period for marketers. And by the way, like Steve Wozniak came out this week and said he wasn't getting the iPhone 10. And it's the first time he's never upgraded.
Wow.
Maybe things are a little tight for him. He can't drop $1,000.
Oh boy!
Like,
Sell
he
a
can't
segue.
drop a sheet of $1,000, a sheet of 100 bills. He can't cut it to the. You can cut it. You know, you can cut it 10 by 10, and you have $1,000 right there. Your uncut sheets of bills, Steve. The other story that's tangentially related to these reviews hitting out there was a YouTube video that popped up with early impressions of the iPhone 10.
Oh God!
Days before any of these reviews hit, and it was from the daughter of an Apple employee,
An engineer. Yeah.
an Apple engineer invited his family over to the cafeteria, Apple cafeteria, and for some reason or another, it's not clear yet, left his internal testing Apple iPhone 10 unit with his daughter, who then proceeded to make a YouTube video sharing her impressions.
what?
She made the video back in September, released it in October, and it went viral because it was the first video of an iPhone 10. And then subsequently, her father was let go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No surprise there. I mean, and I was worried that people were going to get the wrong. I mean, too bad. I'm sorry that the guy got fired. This was his bad judgment. He shouldn't have done this. This is
He shouldn't have given his
clear violation.
Yeah. Well, there was bad judgment. It seemed like more than just on his part.
On her part?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
And then in her apology video, like she
didn't really apologize.
She like was just bragging about her, like how many views her video got, which must have been thrilling for her, granted. But at the same time, it's just like
not worth it, man. Not
yeah,
worth it.
I just didn't feel like anybody, and I didn't feel like Apple was at fault here.
Well, the extra layer behind it is just how rabid these Apple fans are on the blogs. When the first video hit, not the realization that it was unintended leak and her father getting fired, people were conspiring and saying Apple leaked this on purpose.
Oh yeah,
Apple worked with the engineers, but like, there's no way. Like, there were internal code names for products in that video. Apparently, like a lot of things that just like access keys that should not have been shown on screen. It was just such bad judgment. It's not worth it for the YouTube views out there to get someone fired, even especially someone in your immediate family.
I mean, you're right. Personal responsibility. I still feel bad
for
because
the engineer.
Just because like it's about a phone. We got to chill out a little bit as a society.
Apple doubled down on secrecy, man. Didn't you hear? Can't do it.
So the phone is coming out this Friday. We'll be sharing some impressions. Any big takeaways from the early impressions that you've read so far? Face ID apparently works. And just like they said on stage, twins. I think Mashable got 3 pairs of twins.
Oh, and it worked.
To test them on it, and it could not tell difference between the twins.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so twins definitely trick it.
I want to see Frank trick it with a mask.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a life cast, so we can try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So photos won't trick it. I think it's less about the tricking it than it is about what it means to have to look at your phone from 10 to 12 inches away, as opposed to being able to just put your finger on it when you take it out of your pocket.
For some people who use Touch ID, they actually want more members of the family to have access. So,
right.
So they give thumbprints to their spouses or their
5
kids.
thumbprints versus one face.
Yeah, so that might be an issue for some people.
You think that's a software issue or is that a hardware issue?
Oh, I
don't think it's security.
I mean, if it's a hardware issue, it's a matter of memory. But I whatever their embedded chip is, like how many faces can it store?
Or you think it's an arbitrary decision because the software isn't good enough to distinguish. They don't want false positives.
Yeah.
If you store too many.
That's interesting.
If you store 5 faces, then the chance for false positives, what if it's like in between one of the faces?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
I think that's my suspicion. The camera apparently the bulge is bigger than the previous phones, but
the what?
The how far it protrudes from the back
of
of
the
the camera.
Yeah.
The camera, yeah. But quality wise seems to be exactly the same as your iPhone 8 Plus cameras, even though you do get dual optical stabilization on both the lenses, which is nice for some photos and videos. Yeah, it looks like a nice phone. It's very expensive. Best Buy, do you see this? Best Buy.
They back down.
So we complained last week, Best Buy, for a long time. It's not a new
Best
policy.
Buy listens to this podcast?
I think Norm broke this story. He's the first person I heard it from.
Well, Best Buy had been doing it for a long time. They had always been selling their unlocked phones unbound to carriers for $100 more than Apple's MSRP, which is their prerogative. They're a retailer. Even though they have Apple stores, right, you can buy it on your carrier pricing, month-to-month pricing, and they have parity pricing. But if you want to buy the phone straight up, unlocked, and bind it to any carrier, it's going to be $100 more at Best Buy. And apparently there was outrage. And only this year there was outrage because $1,000 versus $1,100 as opposed to $700 versus $800.
Yeah.
Which actually, percentage-wise, is more on the older phones than it is on the newer phones. It's less of a percentage, but total value, I get it. So Best Buy said, fine. If people didn't like it, people don't like the fact that our iPhones cost $100 more on our site than on Apple's website, we just won't sell it to you. You can only buy it via the carrier plan now.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're still going to sell them.
They're still going to sell them. It's just you can't buy an unlocked phone. Thank you, everyone. You can't buy an unlocked phone on Best Buy anymore. I don't know what happens with people who had the pre-orders. The bigger story is that Best Buy, one of the reasons they jacked up the price is because they were making less money on those phones because the carriers weren't paying them some subsidies.
I can't believe the only thing weird about this story to me is that Apple allowed it.
Right.
Like there must be some price rules about that if you're going to carry their products. So I'm surprised that even happened.
Yeah, and the fact that not only was it an authorized reseller like Best Buy, but they actually have Apple stores. If you walk in, that's just confusing for consumers.
Yeah.
Why is the iPhone here $1,100 versus $1,000 at the Apple store? Oh, because it's the Best Buy carrier tax. Other news stories. What else is happening this week? A couple things. Oh, this is just happened. Doppler Labs, you remember those guys? They had those earbuds that could do like Babelfish real-time translation. This is before Google did their earbud announcement. They are going under. I was looking forward to testing their phones.
Oh, that's too bad.
Their phones, I believe, were called the Hear One earbuds, and they could do some real-time processing of like noise cancellation, using the noise cancellation technology, the pass-through technology to do in the future translation. Apparently, the Pixel Buds have killed them. So they're
already.
Yeah.
Pixel Buds aren't even out.
I don't know. They had a ton of investment, but I don't know
exactly
what
press.
happened. Yeah.
Tesla turned the power back on in a children's museum in Puerto Rico.
Oh, with their batteries?
Yes, with their solar panels.
They had a weird day that day. I mean, so that was awesome. There was a challenge. They basically reached out and said, we could do this and turn this around in days.
And they did. Like, I figured it would take months. Took about a week.
And which is incredible. The same day it broke that there is many, many allegations of harassment on their factory floors.
Oh,
too.
No.
And so they have it's a little one step forward, one step back.
What do you mean harassment? Like sexual harassment?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. But the Puerto Rico thing is great because it does show how nimble that organization is, and when they put their mind to it, how quickly things can develop.
Yeah.
I think the fact is that many people in Puerto Rico still don't have power.
Oh, no doubt.
The fact they got it on so quickly to a hospital is excellent.
And now you're going back to work.
What? I'm still mid-festival.
Bay Area Science Festival running until November 11th.
I feel like, I feel like I'm still pretty engaged in the conversation.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. you have to leave in 13 minutes.
Oh my God, I do. Other big tech news this week. Look at that transition. It's like I'm paying attention.
Amazing.
You're doing my job now.
What is it?
No, I was asking. That was a transition back to him. I was throwing it back. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Hey, I remember how we talked about how Sony was going to bring back the iBo?
Yeah, they did.
They are. And
you've seen the videos, right?
There's a new exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about. The
Okay.
new iBo. There's information on it. Now it has a new 64-bit quad-core CPU, sensors in the head, so you can rub its head, rub its chin, rub its back, speaker for dog noises, and 4 microphones for voice commands.
I got sensors in my head and my back. No one rubs me.
No. You're not an iBo. OLED puppy eyes, which can blink and wink.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it uses slam sensing in its camera in its mouth. So it can kind of situate. It's like Roomba. Roomba is a little bit of slam sensing. So like it will map the room as it's walking around.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Roomba is technically slam also.
Okay.
Right. Now, it's expensive. It's $1,750.
Oh my God!
Yeah, a purebred Aibo, as Ars Technica
Jeez.
calls it. Yep.
You could get almost HoloLens for that.
I know.
You need an installment plan for that.
Well, there's an installment plan. You can also if after you buy it, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous.
You have to buy.
After you buy it, you still have to pay
Yeah.
a monthly fee for services.
What?
$26 a month, or a lump sum option. And it's 3 years mandatory. It's for LTE. It's radio access.
Aibo as a service?
Aibo as a service.
Holy cow.
Loot crates. Wait, Luke dog crates?
That's horrible. You might as well have to buy food for it.
Yeah, it's the cloud processing. That's the reason. Apparently a lot of Aibo's brains are in the cloud.
Ugh.
I know. Mandatory monthly fee, and there's a cancellation fee. So this kind of sucks. I love the idea that you could buy an Aibo. Like, people still have their Aibos from past years.
How much was that one?
I don't recall.
That had to have been very expensive too. I mean, I felt like that was out of my reach.
Yeah. Well,
but it wasn't cloud based, so it was like pay once.
What was the original Aibo?
I just remember seeing it at the Sony store back when the Metreon was the Sony Metreon. That's where I saw Aibo. That's the only place I ever saw it, and it was I miss being able to do that because I want to see this one. I assume it's pretty intelligent. It comes with a ball.
The price was $2,500.
The first one?
The very, very first commercial Aibo.
Oh my God!
Which went on sale, according to Wikipedia, on 1999. Limited 3,000 units in Japan, 2,000 units in the U.S. Only 5,000. That's a rare breed of dog.
Yeah.
5,000 total. Sold out 20 minutes after launch. $2,500 in $1999. And then they did an improved version as a limited model. 3,000 units, 17 seconds, sold out. They did, of course, second generation model have 60,000 units, and that was $1,500.
Wow, it was expensive.
Yeah, yeah. So this is about in line with that $1,500 version.
Okay.
But the monthly fee does not sit well.
All right.
Yeah. I wonder how long we're gonna keep it up with that upgrades.
Any last bits of tech news?
Are you doing a moment?
Yeah, I have a little
All
short
right,
thing.
let's jump to a moment of science before Kishore has to go.
Now it's time for a moment of science. So I'm still mid Bay Area Science Festival, which started last Thursday and runs through November 11th, where we take over AT&T Park. It's the only good thing that's happened at AT&T Park this year. The Giants don't like that joke either. No, we still have like a whole slew of events going on. I just want to thank all the people who have come out to Science Festival events so far, and you can see more at bayareascience.org. I myself am excited. I'm talking to neuroscientist David Eagleman on Friday night about neuroscience and creativity. We have some tours of some dark matter research facilities. Very dark. No.
Sounds like a Marvel movie.
No, it's great. And there's some quirky events still coming. There was just a big astronomy finding announced this morning. A paper came out announcing the discovery of a planet that's 0.8 times the size of Jupiter, just a little bit smaller than Jupiter.
It's still a big planet.
It's a big planet, big gas giant planet, but it's orbiting a star that is much smaller than our sun. It's a dwarf star. It's an M dwarf star. It's basically, this gas giant out there is 25% of the size of the sun.
Wow.
Whereas our Jupiter, basically like 984 Jupiters fit inside the sun.
It must be much closer to their sun too, I would imagine.
It is. And so this is the first time we've ever seen a gas giant orbiting a dwarf star like this, which calls into question, how did this gas giant form?
Now, the mass of the gas giant is still very small compared to the mass of the star. That's why the orbits, it still works that way.
Yeah, I didn't see what the mass calculation is. This was found by the Next Generation Transit Survey, where they're looking for the dimming in front of the star from the planet crossing in front of it, and then they used a second telescope, the HARPS instrument, to actually find the gravitational influence of the star on the planet on the star itself. So I didn't see in the paper what the mass calculation was. But you're probably right. There's some. I'm sure the star weighs much more than its volume is compared to the gas giant. But this really calls into question a little bit of how gas giants form. This is a bit of a mystery. It's kind of a cool mystery too. But that's pretty much it for the Science Minute this week. A short one because I'm sciencing all the time right now.
More than just one moment of science.
How much margin of error is there in our measurements of other solar systems?
What do you mean by that? Like in
when
terms
we're measuring
of
the mass of a planet.
I mean, so they're using they're able to look at a star and understand its sort of light characteristics and its ability to affect the motion of other things around it to calculate its gravitational influence and back calculate its mass. Those tend to be reasonably accurate because as long as there isn't some sort of hidden object in that area exerting gravitational influences, those are constants of the universe, that gravitational influence. So its relationship to mass is well understood. Now, with this transit, it's a little bit less accurate because now we're talking about the dimming of the star and the planet coming across its face. And we've only seen a couple transits. So there isn't just like the sheer amount of data to infer certain characteristics of that. So I think that's less accurate. I can't tell you numerically what the error margins is.
Can we
I could probably look it up in the paper.
Can we calculate the orbit time based on the transit?
Yes, they should be able to calculate
That's
the orbit
freaking
time.
nuts, man. How many light years away is this solar system?
Oh, that's a good question. This is pretty far, I believe. This is I'm not seeing it, obviously.
How close is Andromeda?
Andromeda's 4 light years away.
That's the closest?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's something.
Alpha Centauri.
No, Alpha Centauri is 4 light years away.
Andromeda's a galaxy.
Yeah, Andromeda.
Thank you. That was I tricked you. I knew that.
Did you play Civilization?
No.
No, hold on. We have one more bit of science.
Oh, wow.
Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away.
Yeah. Okay. Andromeda the galaxy?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. While Alpha Centauri is only 4 light years away.
Okay.
Alpha Centauri, which has no, as far as we know, habitable planets.
Alpha Centauri has planets, but none in what we'd consider the habitable
range.
So.
M-class. No M-class planets. One last bit. We've been watching a lot of SpaceX's launches and the amazing feats that the rockets are able to land themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you might be able to bring that technology home to your hobby rockets.
I don't even believe you.
Because VTOL is going to be available for hobby rockets.
What?
Can you imagine? I mean, wow.
So the vertical takeoff, not the big deal here. It's the landing part.
We've been doing takeoff for years.
Vertical takeoff, not a big deal.
Oh
so
my God.
This is done by a company called Bernard Propulsion Systems, and they're developing a thrust vector system that works with, like, when I say hobby rockets, these are 5-10 foot tall rockets, but they want to be able to have the rockets land vertically under thrust.
There is no practical reason for this because you can do parachutes and save your rocket.
Yep.
Save your practical word. There's nothing practical about launching rockets to begin with, just as hobbyists, but we've been doing it forever.
But SpaceX has a practical reason for wanting to do this.
Yeah.
The hobbyists just want it for the cool factor.
So it's a computing system, right? It does all the math, apparently. And they say they are hoping to ship this year. Pre-orders until the run is sold out, $300.
Really?
Yeah. So
it's hard to launch rockets these days, as we found. That's the problem for us. You can't just go out into the city and do it. You have to get the fire marshals, okay, and you probably have to go to Las Vegas.
Well, we actually, the team went to a rocket launch event in Nevada
There you go.
last month, and we'll have some videos from that this month where we did launch some large-scale rockets.
I haven't seen any of the video, but I've seen pictures from Joey and the crew that was out there, and they look phenomenal.
Freaking amazing. I watched one of the videos yesterday, and it's awesome.
Wow.
It's loud and amazing. Before we jump on to the VR Minute, I do want to thank again the sponsor of this week's episode of This Only Test, and that is Squarespace. Support from today's show comes from Squarespace. If you're ready to start your new business, make it stand out with Squarespace. They have beautiful templates created by world-class designers, and Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website. You can showcase your blog, your work, or you can publish content, or even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. Everything can be customized from the look and feel to settings and the products using beautiful templates created by world-class designers. Not to mention, everything is optimized for your mobile device right out of the box, and you can use Squarespace's analytics to help you grow in real time. Best of all, nothing to ever patch or install or upgrade, no coding required. Though if you do have a question, Squarespace has award-winning 24/7 customer support that's there to help. The future is coming, and make it brighter with Squarespace. You can also sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code TEST, T-E-S-T, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com, offer code TEST.
Have a good VR minute.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week. All right, a hodgepodge of things to talk about, Jeremy.
Where should we begin? The event? Is there news to cover?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the event. So this week's episode of Projections will be out on Friday, but we've shot already. We went to a Sony media event where they showcased a bunch of new PSVR games.
There was an event in Paris, I want to say.
Paris Games Week.
And where they announced a lot of things Sony-related, PlayStation-related, and along with a handful of PSVR games, like Norm said. They didn't have all of them, but
for us to play.
They did have a good handful of them for us to play here in San Francisco post-Paris event, which is kind of neat. It's a good way to do it.
I don't want to go into full recaps because we do it in the video.
We do that in projections.
But one highlight I do want to talk about is Blood and Truth.
For you, this was would you say this was the most fun you had at the event?
Yes. So yeah, let's each pick one that was more fun from all the games. Blood and Truth from London Studios, a story-based action heist thriller, very fast-paced. Yeah. And very similar to the London Heist game, collection of experiences that Sony put out last year, running through a casino, shooting people, setting up C4. There's some interactive elements where you're looking through security cameras, lockpicking. It felt pretty complete. It felt like there were a lot of good uses of VR, and the story helped me feel compelled in this demo to make it all the way through.
I enjoyed it. It felt a little on rails, but there was definitely the ability to move around in there, left and right primarily, and it did a good job of moving you through space without causing nausea.
Yeah, very comfortable. What's the game that you want to shout out?
I like the one that was announced at E3 that I didn't get a chance to play.
Bravo Team,
which is it's also a shooter, so it's
also on rails.
Not terribly that's true, but you don't. It felt more intense to me. Like it was a co-op experience. Maybe that's the only reason behind it. But I felt like it was just more visceral. Like there was I was actually in danger more than I felt in the London Heist game, where you and a buddy you basically move forward to nodes and you can sort of choose your diverging path. But you click and then you actually watch your character walk from your present position to there, and then your perspective snaps to that. So yes, it doesn't push motion sickness in any way, shape, or form. It's a very safe mechanic there. But I really felt like the action was fun. Like your default position is crouching.
Yeah.
And then you hit a button to rise, you take a few pop shots, and then you go back down. And there's a sense with your co-op buddy of covering and I'm gonna go and then don't shoot me and cover me, and it felt good. The graphics were quite good too.
And use PS Aim. So it's gonna be a game where if people bought Farpoint to play together, then this is a natural progression for co-op using PS Aim. And
it was revealed that Doom will use the PS Aim,
yes.
Which, again, yeah, you're right, natural fit.
Now, do you think a game like Bravo Team would work if it was not that gritty, realistic Modern Warfare shooter, if it was like space aliens and using PS Aim? Similar mechanics?
Dude, I feel like it would work if it was Rec Room. Yeah, I love that co-op intensity.
I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially on the PlayStation side, to get people to play maybe even more than 2 players. That's what I wanted. I wanted 4-player, even on rails, but just wave-based natural progression, maybe procedurally generated. I don't know, right? But it's not about how realistic the world looks or how it's about requiring the communication and feeling like you're in danger and crouching and shooting around corners and getting really your body into it.
I'm just glad to see the aim being used again. Like, we knew it would be used in Bravo Team, but it's also being used in Doom. And Farpoint actually has an expansion coming out, which looks good. So it's good if you bought that, you're in good shape. I was actually, the thing that shocked me the most was the complexity of the Doom controls.
Oh my goodness.
Using the aim. I played it twice that day. The second time, I had no memory of like what button did what, with the exception of maybe the D-pad, which was clearly strafe in every direction. But it was, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. No doubt, it's Doom. It's going to be a good game, and it's going to be worth learning. It's just not. It's interesting because VR hand controllers have brought this resurgence of intuitive controls, where you know exactly what's going to happen, compared to the complexity of like 13, 15 buttons on your gamepad, where you have to learn what does what. The immediate intuition, anybody can jump in Job Simulator and know exactly how to play the game because they grab things physically with their fingers. You'd think the aim would lend itself to that. In Doom, there's definitely a learning curve.
It lends itself to the shooting part of it.
Right.
If you're holding
That's it.
Then you know how to aim and shoot. But getting around the world, activating menus, the fact that you're going to a weapons wheel to change your weapons, I don't like that. Yeah, it does. It goes against a lot of the lessons I think people on the Vive side, even the Oculus side, talked about, and creating really natural motions for analogs instead of menus. But who knows? It could be a ton of fun. We didn't spend enough time with it to really evaluate it. Speaking of Rec Room, you shared this Twitter link to this a pub VR. What is this?
Oh,
this
dude,
looks super cool.
In London,
apparently
somebody posted, CCing the team that makes Rec Room, that there's a pub in London that's like went full-fledged into VR, and they have these stations set up with not only what I believe, I want to say Vive, although I'm not 100% sure, but headsets with the cables run up to the ceiling, like the dream room that you wanted to make. Yeah, you wanted to dedicate a room to VR. This is what you would do, where you have your cables run to the ceiling and on some sort of a cable dangler. And you can rent out these spaces. You jump in there. They have multiple spaces, multiple cubicles. You jump in there. You play Rec Room with your friends, and then everyone at the bar watches on TV from a third-person perspective of you in the game.
Because they have mixed reality. They're green screen.
Yeah.
And when you say cubicles, these are not big areas.
I don't know if they're actually mixed reality. They might just be like full-fledged in the game.
No, it looked mixed reality.
There's cameras on the people?
I think the walls are green.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure when they pan up to the people... Oh, no. The camera, it's just the camera.
Okay.
But the potential's there.
I think it's good enough as is. I mean, this is like way beyond any standard investment.
You don't think it needs mixed reality
No, I don't think so.
To get that across?
No.
So there's stalls. I wouldn't even call them a cubicle. There's stalls.
That sounds like a bathroom.
But they look like little bathrooms.
Okay.
They're like 3 feet by 4 feet at most.
Yep.
But it's enough room for someone to really move around what you would, you're teleporting, but to get your arms to use the bow and arrow, to swipe left and right.
But the fact that they've turned it into a social experience, which anybody who's had a VR party knows is easily done. But
we've never done that in the same room, 4 people playing Rec Room, and then a spectator, like crowds cheering.
But everyone's watched their friends play VR, and it's a lot more fun than watching them play a gamepad game.
Yes,
because they're basically miming. They're moving, and you get to watch them interact in this virtual environment.
Yeah,
I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm surprised it hasn't been done before, and I hope to see this in more cities.
Yeah, a little bit of a down note. The developers of Eve Valkyrie. The VR component of the Eve team, it's closing.
Eve Valkyrie, that's the space shooter?
Yeah, the VR component Eve Online. Eve Online is still happening, and CCP, I want to say, is the development team. They're still going to work on Eve Online, but it looks like
I wonder why. Because they must.
Wait, there's correction. An update. I'm reading the Polygon article. Apparently, work on the games will continue, but they're just being restructured and consolidated.
Okay.
Well, this is actually good news then. Thank goodness.
Look at that. You brought us all down, and you've lifted us right back up.
Well,
They were one of the launch titles for the Rift.
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear this. I mean, the false news that they were shutting down because CCP has so much money. Like EVE Online makes a ton of money.
Still?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. It's massive. They have their own convention.
Okay.
Overseas.
Well, back to Rec Room then for a second. They have launched. They had a beta weekend for a new mode called Laser Tag.
Oh.
Which you think about it, that's natural fit. I'm surprised. I mean, they've already got paintball, and they've got the Rec Room stuff, the Quest stuff. So laser tag sounds like a natural fit. Of course, it looks like an '80s neon lit blacklight room, laser tag room. So good on them. I love to see them playing with new ideas.
Hey, some good news for Echo Arena fans. You know how previously Echo Arena was going to be free because of an Intel sponsorship for a limited time and a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, today was supposed to be the day it went non-free.
Guess what?
What?
Echo Arena's free forever.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
When was that announced today?
Announced today.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, great.
Blowing your mind. Real-time reaction.
Shouldn't it be free? I mean,
it should be.
Because you want as many players as possible.
Yes. No, this is great. Yeah. I'm really glad. That's fantastic. And
Lone Echo, not free.
Lone Echo, no.
Yeah,
Single player, which if you... I hope Echo Arena, if you play it for free, I mean, it just becomes another free thing with the Oculus pack, right? Another one of those free titles. It's worth spending the money on Echo Arena because that's
Lone Echo.
I mean, sorry, on Lone Echo.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. You know how one of the first experiences we got in room scale VR was the lab, right? The Aperture Robot Repair Room.
Right.
That Valve set up, right, with one of the Portal characters.
Yep. And you walk over to the drawers and you pull the drawers open.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that was one of and felt so good. Well, there's going to be a Star Wars version of that.
What does that mean?
ILM X Lab today announced a new VR experience called Star Wars Droid Repair Bay -M Astromechanic for the Resistance, where you repair BB-8 and other astromechs.
Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So do I play the role of a droid? I can't imagine that an actual carbon-based life form would be.
You gotta look at this
repairing
screenshot in this video because the droid repair looks like one of the Star Tours droids.
I'm totally a robot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's you or your assistant.
Okay.
But it could be, even if that's you.
It does look like a
I think
Star
it looks like a Star Tours droid.
Yeah.
And
you're talking about the droids that you see while you're in line?
In line at Star Tours, like manning, like very not Wally-like, a little bit like Johnny Five.
Johnny Five.
But you are an astromech technician on General Leia's ship. So this is in the the new trilogy universe.
JJ, yeah.
And of course with BB-8, and you're going to be repairing BB-8. I'm looking forward to this. This will be. I mean, for kids, totally fun.
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna reserve judgment because the last ILM experience wasn't that great. You know,
it was an experiment, right? And I think this one, it looks like they've got some funding from like Nissan or other car companies, and so they have a sponsorship here. So I hope it's substantial. I hope it's more than just like a sponsored experience.
They were very proud of the models that they got last time, and not so much about the actual experience. So hopefully they learned something. And we'll be having some fun with the BB-8 repair.
Totally. Any other VR news you want to go over?
Do we want to talk about what we'll be reviewing in the next projections?
One more thing. Okay, I guess Google has a new platform called Poly, where people can distribute VR and AR objects for the Google's
what does that mean?
AR Core. So and AR Kit. So it's like, you know how when SketchUp, when Google owned SketchUp before they split it off, there was a library of like people designing things in SketchUp buildings or whatever, and they could populate it in Google Maps.
Yeah, sure.
Right. This is like that for VR/AR. It's a web database where people, when you create things in Google's what's their VR creator program?
I have no idea.
The Blocks thing. What was it called? Blocks.
Oh, you mean the VR like app that you draw things in?
Yes.
Yeah. I think Blocks sounds right.
Yeah, stuff that you create in there, blocks and other things get populated in this library. It's poly.google.com, and there's a bunch of objects created by Google. So think of this as like a medium library or tilt brush library, except that these models that you that people create, some of them they look textured even. You can download them. You can download the OBJ file.
Oh, and they're distributed as OBJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can actually print them out if you want. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think it's like their only mini Thingiverse.
Great. I love
But
it.
it's targeted for VR, AR.
That's okay.
So if you want to put them in worlds, then you can definitely do that.
Amazon has embraced ARKit, and in one of their, I don't know if it's the main Amazon app or it's a separate one, but I just saw this news today that you can now see what Amazon products look like in your house by holding your phone up, and it will look at the room and properly position it, apply the cool ARKit lighting, and assumedly everything's to scale. So if you have a new toaster oven that you're looking at, you can see what it looks like on your kitchen counter.
Very cool. Speaking of kitchen counters, virtual spaces, we got to use some of Windows Mixed Reality. We actually have a headset in. We're still in the process of testing it before we put it in a future episode of Projections. But there's not much to do so far, right? The Cliff House is kind of exactly what we knew it would be. There's a place to access the Windows Video Store, Microsoft Store for videos, Windows App Store. They're like, you can almost count them on 3 hands, the number of VR dedicated apps, native apps in the Mixed Reality Store, including some games.
We'll be waiting on Steam support.
Steam support is what everyone's waiting on.
So the developers have access to that to implement it. It's just going to take a couple months. They're going to release it for consumers by Christmas.
Yeah, so it really feels like a very, very soft launch of Windows Mixed Reality. And we'll be doing more tests. I think what's going to be interesting to people and interesting to us is the image quality on these 1440 by 1440 displays, and also what that inside-out tracking right now means for freedom of movement. If you want to use it on a tetherless system like a backpack, VR backpack,
because
VR
you
computer.
think it has the potential to basically let you roam however far as you want.
Yep. We want to get into a big area and just keep on walking off the Cliff House into the gray zone, into the gray space.
Bring it.
Yeah. And I think that does it for us for the VR Minute.
Yes.
I think that's all we can talk about. Sure.
Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
Well, while you've been playing your new Mario hotness, I have been testing something that for whatever reason, I never gave any thought to. I never thought it would be worth my time. Dolphin, which is the Wii and GameCube emulator.
Yes.
I finally tried that, actually just inspired by this new Mario release, because I'm pleasure delaying Mario, the new one. I want to get it for Christmas.
Sure.
So I figured I'd go back and revisit Mario Galaxy, one of my favorite Mario games, which I obviously still own, but have a hard time playing because the Switch has sort of taken over the Nintendo slot in my home console. And Dolphin is stunning. I can't believe it. It's wow. I mean, the graphics are so well rendered at native resolution on my computer monitor that I thought maybe Nintendo was actually considering HD as a Wii possibility. It's the textures are great, the geometry is great, as you have said before. The effects scale well, and I'm well impressed. And not every game runs perfectly smoothly, but they run smoothly enough depending on your system. The GameCube games are a little bit more controller compatible, because obviously you didn't have motion sensing back then. You didn't have the Wiimote and the nunchuck and all that stuff. But you can actually buy, and I haven't done this, but if you want to play Wii games on your computer, you can get what they call a Dolphin bar from Amazon for $20, which is basically a Wii sensor bar.
Isn't the Wii sensor bar really just
they call it a sensor
IR?
bar? They call it a sensor bar.
It's not a real. It's just
no, it's not a
IR
sensor.
blaster.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 IR blasters, and it just gets USB power, and you put that up there, and then you can actually sync up actual Wiimotes to your computer and go nuts in 4K. But it's neat. I'm really impressed. And actually, there is a VR build of Dolphin, and people who've played Wind Waker and other games, they say it's fantastic.
Wow. Do you know there was an update to Switch last week that
No.
updated and granted GameCube controller support?
How do you connect a GameCube to the Switch?
You would have to use adapter.
Huh.
But it wasn't even unintended. And apparently, an interview with Reggie says, they didn't realize it was an unintended byproduct of their patching.
Huh.
And it works. But a lot of people are speculating that this was laid in the groundwork for future Smash Brothers release, because people are going to want to plug in their GameCube controllers for Smash Brothers.
People love that.
So you could also play your Switch games with a GameCube controller now, if you want to do that. Other way around. But you're happy with how Dolphin looks, and you're happy with how it plays. Performance-wise, it's good?
I'm well impressed, especially given that it's a relatively recent console. I mean, I expect to be able to emulate the 16-bit era, even early PlayStation stuff, but this is pretty great.
A lot of people use it for taking amazing screenshots, like screenshot art of classic Nintendo games, because you can do a lot of super sampling with this. Even though your display might be 1080 or 1440, you can render it 4K and get a really, really sharp screenshot with this kind of emulator.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I've, of course, been continuing testing the Glowforge. I've been running it like every night now, testing some felt cutting.
Wow.
And over the weekend, ahead of the live show, I just did some more raster etching and some vector cutting, trying to make some anatomical models look cool. I've been pretty happy with it so far. One thing I'm not happy about is the physical size limitation for raster etch. Now, if I want to etch like something that's big, when I see like filling up most of the cut bed, say 10 inches by 12 inches, it just can't do it.
Is that a physical size thing or the amount of complexity in the etch?
So I reached out to Glowforge, and their support wouldn't give me a clear answer. I assumed it was a physical size thing, like bigger than this dimension, then it can't handle it. But what they seemed to indicate that it wasn't limited by, like, they didn't want to say the biggest thing you can actually etch is this size by this size. They said it was more of the total time it would take. So if you're going to cut at a higher DPI, etch at a higher DPI, or etch with certain quality settings, then it would extend the overall cut time, which tells me that it's like a RAM issue, a memory issue. Like, but that doesn't make any sense to me either.
I'm really surprised by that, because they have said that if your project is bigger than the amount of RAM inside the laser cutter,
they would stream it to you.
It would be a cloud stream, and you wouldn't be able to lose connectivity during that kind of print, because you'd need to keep getting the new data.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it could be they don't want to store that on the back end, or they haven't unlocked that.
Yeah.
But right now, like, their solution, which is not a great solution, is to split up your image, your bitmap, into sections that can be etched, and then leave your material in and kind of just match it. And especially when the alignment isn't perfect right now with that camera, I wouldn't trust the camera alignment. You'd have to do it in the software. So it's a lot of stitching of etching, and it's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
We'll, of course, have more to talk about next week when we get those shiny new phones. Really hoping to get one of those Razer phones in as well, and we'll hopefully have a video with more stuff on the site. I have a keyboard video that I put up today.
Adam saw this and called it the nerdiest thing ever to be seen in this office.
Yeah. Custom mechanical keyboard caps, Star Trek themed. Ron Berry Entertainment's doing a drop right now. I think they're only making like 150 of them. So
wow.
You gotta, if you want to get in on that keycap set, you have to get in on. You have to get that early. And then Adam checked a video with Adam with a really cool bag that he likes from a friend of his that he's gonna check out on the site. So stay tuned for that stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Thank our sponsors for supporting us, and thank you again everyone who came out to the live show, especially those of you who stopped by and said hi. It's really good to see some familiar faces and put names to faces, usernames to faces.
For sure.
We'll be back next week with another episode of This Is Only a Test. Hope everyone had a happy Halloween, and now we are in full holiday season. Gotta start thinking about putting up that tree, or Thanksgiving at least. Yeah.
Okay.
Got any outros, Jeremy?
Justin, a.k.a. Speed, back with another one.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
That's it.
I've only seen it 1.95 times.
Kishore fell asleep.
What a fucking... That's it.
Bye.
Bye.